One of the most heartbreaking trends that I've noticed in the last few years is that a lot of black folks, and mostly young black folks, those who don't have the necessary historic context, have not just become skeptical of the Jew, but they have gone all out neo-schmazi. I'm talking about saying the types of things that would make the little mustache man blush. So I want to go ahead and show a video that I got into a while back, and I'm using this as a setup for this entire conversation of the relationship between the black community and the Jewish community, which seems to be a forgotten thing. So, let's go ahead and then start out with this foolishness right here.
What do you guys think about her?
What if the Jewish did something to the Germans that made them act a certain way, but nobody wants to talk about it? Like, the Jews don't want to take accountability.
They don't.
Yes.
I'm with you on that one.
Okay.
That's why they was up to something, so the Germans wanted to take them out.
Like, payback.
It had to be something. Like, Germans wanted to take them out, all of them out.
They damn near wiped everybody off the map.
They started. Yeah, I don't want to kill more brain cells than I have to at this point. I apologize. You have to bear through that. Now, there's something to be said about just outright stupidity, right? There is a lot of that in those types of rooms right there, coming from every single corner of that room. You're in a fresh and fit room. You're indeed in a room that is saturated with retardation. That's just, it's par for the course. But the other side of this is, how the hell did we get here? How did we get to a place where black people who would have been lockstep into those ovens with the Jew, if it was up to the little mustache man, how are they now standing not only in opposition to the Jewish people in their own time of need, but how do they become completely aligned with this sort of evil? I mean, y'all heard what she said, right? Well, maybe they deserved it. That's what she had to say. Would make the little mustache man blush. Bright red, rosy cheek activity before he eliminated all of them in that room, except for, of course, those with the Aryan blood. So I came across a video of a brother by the name of Pastor Dumisani, who is doing some of the most incredible work when it comes to drawing the bridge between Black America and the Jewish community and creating a deeper understanding, and also genuinely fighting Jew hate. What we once called anti-Semitism, we are now calling exactly what it is, because that's what it is. So I want to get into that video. I'm going to just let it play out. It's about a minute and a half, and we will reconvene on the other side. Let's see. Yeah, we got to get that out the way. All right. Now this one is going to re-spark those dead brain cells for you that happened as a result of Fresh and Fit. My apologies once again.
What made a famous leader of the Black Panthers change his mind about Israel? I'll tell you. When Black Panther Eldridge Cleaver first met PLO chairman Yasser Arafat, he became convinced the Free Palestine movement shared the same goals as the Panthers. That Black liberation was Palestinian liberation. It can only be brought about through communism and its rejection of Jewish liberation, just like the KGB drew it up. But after Cleaver spent 7 years living in communist and Islamic imperialist regimes, he changed his tune entirely. What he saw wasn't freedom, it was suffering. Cleaver later testified, "The more I saw what was going on, the more I understood things were wrong in every one of those countries." This awakening in Cleaver led him to stand in support of the Jewish state he once condemned, and he even hung an Israeli flag outside his home. He put his words to action by throwing his support behind FACIC, Black Americans to Support Israel Committee, which formed in response to the 1975 UN resolution, Zionism is Racism. BASIC was made up of Black leaders who opposed what Dr. King had called the young militants of the civil rights movement. But as we'll see, they faced an uphill battle, as the resolution they were fighting against was just the tip of the anti-Israel iceberg forming at the UN. Until next time, this is We Are Not the Same, how Free Palestine exploited the Black community.
Now, I'm thankful that the pastor brought up the relevancy of the pro-Palestinian movement, or the quote-unquote Free Palestine movement, which many people today believe is something that, is as recent as October 7, 2023. Right? A lot of those who deem themselves activists have no context of the actual history of this movement and its leaders, including a man you saw there, the so-called founder of quote-unquote Palestine, who turns out neither was born nor died in Palestine. Of course, because it technically doesn't exist. But anyway, point in hand is this. Most Black folk in America have fallen into a deep psychosis, a widespread mental delusion of sort. They have found themselves in a place where they have aligned so deeply with the democratic plantation that they believe anything that is spewed from that ecosystem. And much of what they have been told has come directly from Marxists, right? Those who align themselves with communist ideals. Communism was created with one purpose in mind. Whether you go to, Maoist China or Xi's China, you go to the North Koreas, or you go to Venezuela. The purpose is control. Communism has always been a perfect Trojan horse for total and absolute power in the hands of a very few, or more specifically in the hands of the state, right? Whereas capitalism allows for a democratization of power, the crony version, unfortunately, is more aligned with what communism becomes. But when you have genuine free trade, there's a reason why many, if not all, nations that have been lifted out of poverty have done so through capitalism, through free trade, right? And having some sort of genuinely democratic process. So we have those who are power hungry, who look to control absolutely, even if it means the utter destruction of their own people, which has happened time and time again in modern as well as, prehistoric times. You can go back as far as biblical times and you will see rulers looking to control absolutely and looking to dominate as much of the earth as is humanly possible. Palestine is no different, or this entire Palestinian movement. It's no different. But what it has been able to do successfully is to co-opt other movements. And those movements have gathered together believing that they are the same cause. So, on one side, you have the struggle for Black rights or Black liberation. And on the other side, you have, the mentally ill, those men who believe they're women, women who believe they're men. And these two groups are supposed to have some sort of alignment because they're both, quote unquote, struggling for, quote unquote, rights. Now, when you look at Black folks, you can say, well, yes, nobody should be treated differently on the basis of their skin color. Of course we fight for that. Yes, we stand for that. Absolutely. Yes. That, we want that. We get that. You should never be judged on the basis of who you are on the basis of your birth, but instead who you are on the basis of your character. Absolutely. Oh, also, you can't help if you're born in the wrong body. So, we deserve those rights too. Okay. Also, kids don't really know whether or not they're in the right body. So we need to sort of guide them, and they're likely not in the right body. So, it's probably best we throw them in there too. And all of a sudden, Black folks have found themselves latching onto all these damn movements, all these damn oppressed groups per se. And in the midst of that, have actually fallen so far away from what it actually means to be the oppressor and the oppressed. Like, I was thinking to myself in the beginning of my sort of awakening to what is actually happening in Gaza. I said, ain't this the perfect situation for black folks in America to latch onto, the ones that love to be an activist about every damn thing? This is the perfect victim. Here is a minority group that is being targeted by the majority group, a minority group that is racially diverse, that is open to all, versus their adversaries who are a closed society. They are tribalistic and they look to destroy those who are smaller, lesser in numbers, the minority. But the difference, obviously, is that there has been more success in the world of the Jew. That has come as a byproduct of the culture of the Jew. Not saying every Jew, but this is in generalities, of course. Because there's been more success, there has been greater envy. Because there's been more success in proximity, there's been greater envy. As Dr. Thomas Sowell says, this is what we call the middleman group, right? The Jewish people who come to America, or, you know, the Chinese that make their way to Southeast Asia. You have the Lebanese, you know, that make their way into whatever region in the world, and all of a sudden they're succeeding. You have, I mean, even the Germans making their way into, you know, Czechoslovakia or wherever else within the Balkan nations, and all of a sudden they're succeeding, and now they're viewed as, you know, being highly suspicious, and now conspiracies built around them. But with the Jew, there's a specific, very special sort of hatred that has been designated for them. And I believe that's to do with prophecy. And, you know, these things are actually written in the book of time, in essence, right? But beyond that, I can just say on face value, these people are actually being discriminated against. They were attacked, they were violated. Nearly half their population was wiped out, and they still haven't really recovered in a sense. You know, this is a perfect victim story if you want to be an activist, but yet there they stand lockstep with the perpetrators, the violators. And, you know, the only time I see black folks waking up, and I've shared a few of these stories before, only time I see black folk waking up is when they hear stuff like, well, you know, there's a region in Gaza that translates in English into the slave quarters, and about 11,000 black folks live there. So once you start getting that sort of information across, then all of a sudden, you know, lights turn on. But I feel that, again, it's of the utmost importance to understand the relationship, the historic relationship of the black community and the Jewish community. And sometimes you can say, well, you know, that means nothing because we're in this day and age. And I say, okay, perfect. Then look at where most Jewish folks have stood this far. Unfortunately, many of them have been liberals in a very liberal society. And now there's been a greater shift into, you know, conservatism when it comes to politically, because they're finally realizing, wait a minute. I mean, and, you know, you start getting too deep in the right, you start seeing the very same thing, two sides of the same coin. But, you know, it turns out that the liberals never saw them as allies to begin with. Now, of course, they'll use them for a vote, i.e., you know, Lord Zoran of New York City. But beyond that, they're no friend of the Jewish people. No. The Liberal Party sees them as white adjacent. And therefore, there's an alignment with Palestine, who holds the ideology that half of what these people represent, they would wipe out in a day. The same way the little mustache man would look to, you know, whether it's the gay or the black or, you know, anybody else who is considering themselves as allies to this movement. And mind you, there is no difference between what the little mustache man believed and what the so-called pro-Palestinian movement is rooted in. There's no difference. From the river to the sea is the same exact lame, played out rhetoric. The wiping and the eradication of the Jew, the same exact rhetoric. just in a different form and a different cloak. So I really do hope that a lot of these black folks start to wake up. And, individuals like Candy of our eye, Candy Apple Katari Owens, she is doing a greater disservice than she even knows. Perhaps in the life after this one, she'll have to wake up to that reality, but she is leading so many black folk astray. There's so many black folk who've now latched onto her because, she's no longer calling out, she's no longer, I guess, rightfully calling out a lot of the sort of degenerate aspects of black culture, but instead now she is fixated on Jew hate. And now there's been black folks coming back to her and been listening. And because there's enough of the seeds that have been planted, here we are. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there. Or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace. Aquarius. Where? I've been up for hours, I've been up for days, staring at the ceiling, I've been counting strays, I've been in my feelings, I've been out of mind, I've been getting visions of the other kind, I've been up for weeks, I'm in the count of blessings over count of sheep. I can never be the type to limit when it comes to me. I used to be the pleaser for the people, I ain't even